What's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Scarlet Violet video, and today we're going to be kicking off our Regulation I team building series, and we're going to be looking at probably one of the most popular duos right now running around, and that is the Calyrex Shadow Rider and Zamazenta. In case you haven't noticed, Regulation I rules were announced. We did a previous video on it, and dual restricteds are now legal, and now we get to have not one, but of course two restricteds on the same team. Now, the last time we had this was back in Sword and Shield, but even then, there was, quite the anticipation that this would be the next format. So there've been, quite a bit of online tournaments, for the last few months or so, here and there. So we've had some data to look at just in terms of what kinds of pairings would be strong. And, we, talked a little bit about them in the, announcement video, but I think just right away, these two are going to be defining the meta, at least in the early get-go. Just because, one supports the other very, very well. Again, just imagining, Zamazenta, which is having wide guard support now, really, really good. Same thing with like Lunala. Lunala is going to be very splashable on a lot of different teams, but Zamazenta, same thing. Again, just having access to wide guard, and now you can be like that supportive restricted that, can deal some damage, of course, but really what you want here is Calyrex always wants like a strong fighting type next to it, whether it be like, Mienshao, or whether it be something like Urshifu, for example, just because you want like a strong fighting type damage dealer into the dark types that Calyrex can kind of struggle against. So think about like Incineroar, think about like Chiyu, Chenpao stuff. Calyrex doesn't do well against those guys, but the fighting types can, okay? And now you don't necessarily need to use Mienshao, with just close combat and wide guard, or say like your Urshifu is still always going to be like really, really solid. But now Zamazenta doesn't really care about intimidates, and then we can just body press, those Incineroars and then just be okay. And then at the same time, wide guard is really good against, the mirror matchup for spread damage, of course, forcing these restricteds to go for suboptimal single target moves. And you always play the mind games whenever you have something like wide guard, and your opponent has to say, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Who knows? But at the very least, the Zamazenta does very, very well, next to the Calyrex Shadow Rider. Okay, so now what we're going to do, so I'm going to build you 3 teams here. So this way, we're going to give you the best of both worlds depending on like the archetype you want to play. We're going to do like one hyper offensive, we're going to do one like balanced, and then we're going to do like one almost in the in between kind of area, like a little bit of hyper offense, a little bit of balance, a little bit of trick room, tail room ideas. So we'll give you 3 squads, so this way you can start testing and using things already on the showdown ladder for Regulation I. Okay, so just off the rip, we're gonna keep things relatively safe and standard just because it is like a new format. So we're still gonna use like pretty good solid Pokemon just to give us a good feel of where we are right now in the beginning parts of Regulation I. So we're gonna start here, okay, and then after this, I think we just go relatively safe and just pick Urshifu, right? I mean, like, this thing is going to be so strong just in a dual restricted format, and we saw that in Sword and Shield as well, right? So now from here, remember how good Zamazenta was by itself, and it was struggling a little bit towards the later parts of Regulation G, but Zamazenta Chenpao teams were just always really, really solid altogether. No matter what kind of makeup it had, the Chenpao variant was always the strongest kind of variant, okay? And then this also synergizes well with Urshifu, just because, again, Chenpao Ursh, a little bit more damage, thanks to Sword of Ruin, and now you have 3 physical damage dealers, so now we could use another special attacker on the team, maybe something a little bit more supportive, besides just the Zamazenta. And I think something like Tornadus, again, is also going to be really good, like Tornadus, Urshifu, Chenpao, very good trio that can be splashable on, not only just like hyper offensive teams, but also balanced teams. And in like Calyrex mirrors, especially against like Calyrex balance stuff, that sometimes the Tailwind is going to be, all the more difference making. Okay. By the way, like Zamazenta wide guard, really good against another Tornadus that has Tailwind. I'm sorry, Bleakwind Storm, because then they can't go for their own. They can't go for their own attacks, right? Because they're going to be locked. If you have the wide guard pressure against your Bleakwind Storm. So you may you may start to see at some point, maybe they'll go for like Hurricane stuff, you never know. But at least from the early get-goes, like when I was testing like wide guard against like Tornadus stuff, was really, really funny because, they had nothing to click. besides Bleak Windstorm. But yeah, anyway. And then from here, I think we just want something a little bit more playable in the Trickle matchup. I think Amoonguss is just always relatively safe on teams like this. Like Chien-Pao, Urshifu, Amoonguss, Tornadus. Like we've seen that before on like some of these other Kyogre teams. And I think something like this is just easy to start with, right? You know, you can always just click Tailwind, Astral Barrage. Of course, you can click Rain Dance stuff with Urshifu, especially if this has a Choice Scarf, which it will, okay? And then just kind of see, like, you know, I can use this thing to, you know, trade damage, you know, pick up KO here. I'll pick up a KO there. And then in the end games, Calyrex and Zamazenta can do what they need to do, right? And Urshifu is really good at removing stuff like, you know, the Incineroars, the Chiyus. You can pressure Chien-Paos as well. So it's really, really nice to have Urshifu make trades. So this way, like, Calyrex and Zam can do the job that they need to do, right? But anyway, from here, so I just like Life Orb, Calyrex here, just like start aggressive with something like this, Astral Barrage, and then you have the choice for either going for something like Psychic or Psyshock. We'll just go Psychic just because, and I like Protect here. Now, I am a fan of 3 attack move Calyrex. If you like Nasty Plot, you can definitely do that, but our team is not really meant for setup here. Like, I only have, you know, Amoonguss to redirect and set up the Nasty Plot here, so it's not really ideal. This is better if you have like at least another Fake Out user, but at least 3 attacks would be kind of good. So you have some options just in terms of your 3rd attack here, right? You can go like Dark Pulse here, you can go Draining Kiss, Terra Fairy. Draining Kiss is also a definite option, you know, for your 3rd move there. Like I said, you had the option for Dark Pulse, which is also pretty good, you know, against like Lunala and other Calyrex Shadow Rider teams. They don't Terra especially. You can also do Expanding Force, right? If you, well, I mean, I don't know, we don't have an Indeedee here, obviously, but if you think they can bring it, you can also do that as well. But if you already have Psychic, you don't necessarily need to do it. I have seen the occasional Pollen Puff, which is kind of funny when you think about it. You know, double Pollen Puff here is very interesting. But I just think like Terra Fairy, Draining Kiss, or Dark Pulse is really, really solid. I'll go the best of both worlds here. I'll go Terra Fairy, but still have Dark Pulse here. So just having like the Fairy typing against, you know, single strike Urshifus or just the dark type attack in general from Chien-Paos and Chiyus and Incineroars, I think Fairy is really good. You can also do Terra Normal for the mirror matchup, right? If there's going to be so much Shadow Rider, maybe you just go Terra Normal, and now they can't really click Astral Barrage anymore. They have to click something else like Psychic, which is a little bit more suboptimal, but of course, we know this already from regulationG. Okay, so I leave it up to you. I'm just going to put Terra Fairy here just to start. Zamazenta, of course, Body Press, Wide Guard. You can go Heavy Slam here, and then just Simple Protect here. If this was Rain Dance, which it will be, I like this, and then I can go Terra Grass here. And the reason why I like this is because now with Rain Dance and Terra Grass, I'm removing the Fire type weakness. Okay, and then at the same time, I can remove my ground type weakness, you know, against something like the Landorus Incarnate. That's going to help me as well. And then think about like Urshifu stuff. I can resist that or neutralize that especially. And then more importantly, I can get around Amoonguss, right? Because they love clicking Rage Powder, but then Zamazenta just says, all right, now I don't care. I have Terra Grass, and now I can just click Body Press against other things, right? Because Amoonguss can resist the fighting coverage that you have here, and Heavy Slam's not really doing a whole lot. So, you know, just having Terra Grass on Zam looks really good here. But if it wasn't something like Rain Dance Tornadus, I would just probably go Terra Dragon. I think Dragon's always like a pretty good Terra on that thing. But yeah, anyway, Urshifu here. So, Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Aqua Jet, of course, and then the U-turn pivot move, you know, just in case you lead it. Not looking great. You can always just U-turn the heck out. Now, I was doing stuff like, you know, Terra Water and Terra Stellar in the early geckos of testing, but I don't have an Indeedee here. I don't really have a Fergraph, so it's kind of easy to fake out this Urshifu, especially, you know, if they know your Sash. So what I did end up making a decision was to change this to Terra Ghost there. And now if they really wanted to fake out the Ursh, you know, you can just go Terra Ghost, and now you really get off your attack. You get so much more momentum, and then it's just a bad turn 1 for them, and then turn 2, you're in the driver's seat just because you get even more chip damage on the next turn. Maybe even pick up a second KO already. Okay, Chien-Pao will always still be Terra Ghost in this case as well. That's Grass. Hold on. And then you'll put the Sash here. And then Ice Spinner, again, blow up those Indeedee terrains, blow up those Miraidon and You know, Rillaboom terrains, Sacred Sword, very solid move along with Sucker Punch and Protect. So again, with Sucker, you have priority move against Lunalas and other Calyrexes that don't Terra. And then Sacred Sword, you get to ignore the defense boost. Like again, imagine Zamazenta with that +1 boost. Sacred Sword just says, invalidate that, deal a bunch of chip damage, and just go from there, right? The Amoonguss, you know, Regenerator here. I love Rocky Helmet, especially now, because there's, you know, more Zams. There's, you know, Urshifus and whatnot, but I've always loved Rocky Helmet Amoonguss. You can definitely go Citrus Berry here, obviously, but yeah, to each their own. Spore and Rage Powder, without a doubt. Let's just put Rage Powder first. Okay, and then you can just go with Sludge Bomb here or Pollen Puff and then just go Protect. I leave it up to you depending on what you guys want. I still like Terra Water here, just because it's always a good solid Terra in front of a Ice type like Chien-Pao or Calyrex Ice Rider. To be able to resist that and click Spore and Trick Room is kind of funny. And then Sludge Bomb, you know, just occasional chip damage against the grass types, the Ogre Pawns, right? Sludge Bomb is pretty good. You know, base 85 special attack, it's not nothing, right? You know, the Ogre Pawns are not going to want to take that. And then Tornadus here, you can just go Covert Cloak, keep it safe and standard here. Tailwind, Bleak Wind Storm, Rain Dance. And then here you can also just go Protect. You can also go Taunt, depending on how you want to play this Tornadus. But you have options here, okay? So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 Protects here. If you want Taunt, you can definitely go Taunt on this Torn. Otherwise, you can just slap on Protect here, and then you're just chilling. But Taunt is really good. Okay, and then just go Dark Terra, of course. So this way you yourself don't get taunted if you fear it. And what's also really good about Dark Terra now is, again, this is pretty good against another Shadow Rider because you get to resist Astral Barrage, right? And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, like, this is an easy start for, you know, a Tailwind Calyrex Shadow Rider team, just something to jump onto ladder and test, right? And see where you are. So now, just in terms of EVs, I just think, you know, maxing the Calyrex here is pretty good. And then just a little bit of Life Orb optimization here. Always ending your HP in a 9 is pretty solid. And then just dumping the rest into special attack here. If you remember my March rental team, I made a very bulky Calyrex Shadow Rider with Life Orb. But that was mainly because I had Clefairy on the team with Friend Guard. So this way I'm super bulky. I can take a lot of damage and not die. So that set looked like this, where you're still max speed, but you had like no special attack. That's because this was, you know, nasty plot. And then what it was 188, 36 investments. And this was enough to take a Surging Strikes Urshifu there. But it was a super, super bulky Calyrex, right? And that was my nasty plot set, along with, you know, Clefairy Friend Guard stuff, but we don't have that here. So we're just going to go a little bit more offensive here, and then just do, you know, dump the rest of our damage into our special attack stat with a little bit of Life Orb optimization here. So Zamazenta, I also just like, just impish, but max speed here. Again, you know, in a lot of my games, unless I've been winning speed ties this whole time, I've always had the faster Zamazenta. I've always had the faster body press, and that's so good in the end game, right? So I just like that, and then just almost max speed, not max speed, max impish here. You see right here, you're going to hit the bump here from 207 to 209, right? And again, if you don't know what EV bumps are and you're trying to get better at competitive Pokemon, if you're starting competitive Pokemon right now and you're still learning to create EV spreads, make sure you comment below asking what are EV bumps, because it's a fundamental skill to understand when you're creating EV spreads like this. We have a whole video on it, which I've also linked in the video description. If you don't know what EV bumps are, feel free to watch that as well. Otherwise, just comment what are EV bumps and we'll discuss it. Now, the only thing I don't like about leaving Zamazenta at 209 here is when you get the +1, this will be a decimal, right? Because an odd number times 1.5 is a decimal. So we're not going to do that. Instead, we're going to push it to an even number like this and go to 210. And then I just have these 12 EVs left. I'm just going to go 444, just round it out. And that's really all I need from my Zamazenta, right? Just a very easily balanced, impish body press damage dealer, right? If you want to invest a little bit more in your SPDEF and HP later on, you can definitely do that. If you find yourself dying to like certain double ups, for example, you can take a little bit away from your damage here, from your defense, put a little bit more in your HP and SPDEF. But if you're just trying to get going on the ladder, this is just always relatively standard. Same thing with this Urshifu here. We can go Adamant, max speed here, same thing. The only difference here is, I'll put 1 point in either defense or HP. I'll put in defense. This will help you survive stuff like, Grassy Glide and whatnot. But again, with Chen-Pao, you're always just kind of chilling here. So I always like this 1 point here. No, I'm so sorry. 1 point here. I meant to do this in Chen-Pao. What I meant was 1 point in the defense to survive the Urshifu stuff, right? So this is always like really good here. So I'm just gonna go Jolly, just so that I have like speed tie advantage potentially, maybe, especially if they're like Adamant Chen-Paos. I just like going Jolly. I outspeed Miraidon stuff. I think it's always like relatively solid. The 176 factor, by the way, in case they bring out Rillaboom, this is pretty optimal for Grassy Terrain Recovery because 176 is a factor of 16. So yeah, so this one I put in the HP, this one I put in the defense for the same reason. Again, just trying to survive Urshifu Surging Strikes. Amoonguss here, I love Relaxed Nature, especially now with more Zamazentas running around and more Calyrex Ice Riders, being asked to come as a secondary restricted on certain teams like Miraidon, for example. So I just like going 236, 236. This will survive 1. Glacial Lens, this will also survive Chen-Pao Ice Attacks. Now, you don't even need to Terra Water, but you will take a lot. You'll be left at least with 1 HP here. But, just dumping the rest here into Spadef. The 219 also is optimal for Regenerator Recovery because, again, 1/3 of your max HP rounded down. So you'll get 73 flat if you switch out perfectly. Otherwise, if it's not, then you're just going to get decimals and then it'll just round down your HP getting recovered, right? So I think 236 is a little bit more optimal. It is optimal, actually. And then your Tornadus here. So with this Torn, what I wanted to do was a couple things. First of all, I want to outspeed Kyogres. So I just go to timid 92 investments. So I'm at 157. I outspeed them. And then have at least enough bulk to survive, Urshifu Surging Strike stuff. Especially if they're like, in the rain and whatnot. But I just go something like this. 172 investment here and about 228 defense. This is enough for that. I've done this set before. And then just 1 point in the special attack. And the rest can go into special defense. Very, very bulky Tornadus. Meant for Urshifu survival. So yeah, this is it. So this is a very easy, standard Calyrex Zamazenta team that you can use right now in the early get-go of Reg I. So let's just go ahead and let's test this out in a few games in ladder, and then I'll showcase the other 2 builds. All right, so here's our first ladder game here. It's going to be Miraidon Zamazenta. I like this Miraidon build. Again, just Miraidon, Fergaf, Ogerpon, Iron Hands. Pick a restricted. In this case, they're going with Zamazenta. I love Calyrex Ice Rider on these teams. And then they're going to go with Fluttermane for probably a little bit more speed control with like Icy Wind stuff. So I understand it. But again, our Chen-Pao looks really good here if we can position it properly, just because we can pressure the Miraidon. Now, they have stuff like Fergaf and Iron Hands that can give Chen-Pao a little bit of trouble, especially, against Zamazenta. But I still think Amoonguss is also really good against their Zam. We don't have to click Spore. We can at least just redirect. So he's going to go like Fluttermane and this guy, the Ogerpon Heartflame. I like Zam-Pao as a lead here. So, the Fluttermane obviously getting the speed boost. So we confirm it's not Sash. So I just want to protect first just to scout out what he wants to do. He actually just went straight for the Chen-Pao there. And a boosted body press into that Ogerpon just kills it, right? So now Zamazenta comes out. So probably Miraidon in the back. So I'm just going to go Amoonguss here just to try and maybe catch it. Preserve the Chen-Pao later for the Miraidon. Protects Flutter. Good play. All right. And the Zam actually ignores our Chen-Pao and just goes straight for our Zamazenta, right? But this is okay because now we can just, redirect with the Amoonguss. They go for the double on the Fluttermane. Understandable. But now we just snipe it. No Sash there. It was boosted. So now Body Press goes into our Amoonguss. We resist that. Look how much damage he's dealing to himself now. There's Miraidon. This is okay. We have Chen-Pao in the back here. I just need to redirect and survive, okay? And Amoonguss does do exactly that, so good job, Amoonguss, right? Being that bulky mushroom here. And again, I don't get to kill Miraidon, but that's okay, because again, I have a bunch of damage coming in. Here comes Chen-Pao. We always win this, right? I just click Sucker, why not, just in case. But again, just Body Press there. That's always really good. Body Press from him gets us to Sash. He doesn't even kill our Zam. And this is a game where like even Calyrex doesn't even get to come in here, right? So now we just Body Press the Zam as well, and then now the double from Chen-Pao and Zam just beats him. So all in all, again, Amoonguss is still really good as you see even in Miraidon games. But Chen-Pao Zam just clicking Body Press into a lot of different things is still like really good, even in double restricteds. All right, so here we have Miraidon and Groudon here. So quite the interesting pairing. I think they're both a little bit weak to Calyrex Ice Rider, but you do have, I guess, Incineroar and Iron Hands to help you, along with Foul Play Ferrograph. So there's ways around that. But overall, I still like what we have as well. I think because he's got Incin and Ferrograph, the Calyrex Shadow Rider might have a little bit of difficulty, but we do have Chien-Pao again. And we also have Zamazenta as well. Now, our own Urshifu also looks pretty good. We can also technically go Rain Dance Tornadus here, just to change Groudon's weather if they do decide to do that. So lots of options, but I decided to go with Tornadus Urshifu here, and he's going to go with Miraidon, and he's going to go with Incineroar here. So this is like one of those decisions where like, this is why I also went Terra Ghost. I wasn't Terra Ghost at the time, so I had to like switch into POW here. So in essence, I was kind of giving up my POW. So it's like, if you want to kill it, you can kill it now. I went Rain Dance, and you actually just go for Volt Switch into Tornadus, which is kind of funny when you think about it. I was going to give him my POW, but he said no. Here comes Iron Hands. We knew this guy was coming, but now I can go into my Calyrex here. Okay, I can try to snipe this Iron Hands here. I know he's not AV because well, actually, I don't know that he's not AV because, again, I do see the Quark Drive there. It could have been boosted, but he wasn't. But that is AV, of course. Look at that Psychic not being able to kill there. Knock off into Calyrex there. That's okay. But now look at Urshifu in prime position here. He goes into Groudon, which is a great play here, you know, just because. But then he goes Terra Ghost into. I'm not really sure why he did that. But again, that's just a free Calyrex Astro Barrage here. But I was clicking that regardless whether he went Terra Ghost or not. I think, in my opinion, he just doesn't need to Terra Ghost there. I think just being able to survive Surging Strikes and Astro was fine. You know, I think that was just a waste of a Terra. I think he could have just saved that and then be in a much better spot than, you know, what he was already. But yeah. All right, one more here. So people like this duo as well, you know, just Kyogre, Calyrex here, but no Tailwind. Instead, we're going with like Ferrograph stuff. So right away, again, my own Urshifu looks really good here just because Surging Strikes in the rain is going to do a lot of damage. My own Tornadus also looks really good, especially against those grass types that he has there with Bleakwind Storm. I have Tailwind against, you know, his own Calyrex, so this way my Zom and my Calyrex will have the advantage as well. So I do like my options here, and technically we don't necessarily need the Amoonguss here or even the Chien-Pao. I don't, you know, I do see like a Ferrograph and a Calyrex there, but I think we have more than enough, especially like with our own Calyrex. So I'm gonna go with Zamazenta here just because I can wide guard, you know, Astro Barrage and Water Spout. Goes Amoonguss Calyrex. This is a good lead here because, again, I was gonna put pressure if he led Kyogre here, but now I can't really do that. It's gonna go Ursh here, but this is where Terra Grass is really good. So he goes Rage Powder. I'm just going to pivot out there. And I'm going to take Rocky Helmet Jet, which is fine. But I'm going to go into Tornadus here. All right. I went for Heavy Slam because, again, I can't body press the Calyrex here, right? So now I body press the Urshifu. So he gives me that for free. Bleakwind Storm comes out. Could have also taunted this Amoonguss. But instead he just went for Raw Sludge Bomb. Does a lot into my Zamazenta, right? Like almost 50% there. So here's his Calyrex. This is okay because, again, what we can do, he goes for Rage Powder. This is okay. I just need the speed advantage. All right. I just need to get rid of the Amoonguss so Urshifu can clean up later. But yeah, we just get rid of the Amoonguss. Astro Barrage comes out. Does a lot, of course. But I'm going to have the end game here. And he is +1. Now I go into my own Ursh. He goes Ferrograph. So no Kyogre, actually. So I'm just going to go Rain Dance here. And now his, you know, Calyrex just goes smack just because, yeah, I do more damage in the rain. Goes for a Trick Room here, which is a good play. Now, realistically, we were never in any danger. I know we went for Psychic Noise and I did survive. Even if he kills here, look, I still get Bleakwind Storm chip damage. And I have Calyrex coming in, you know, that can click Dark Pulse there, right? So that's the other reason why I have that move there. But yeah, so, you know, Zamazenta being Terra Grass, allowing us to ignore Amoonguss. That's exactly why I have it. And, you know, that made all the difference there because he didn't have his Urshifu single strike as a late game win condition against our own Calyrex. Okay, so now another way that you can build this is, again, you can go for a little bit more of a balanced approach here. So you can still keep these four, right? Chien-Pao, Ursh, Zamazenta, and Calyrex Shadow Rider. But now what you could do is you can still have Rillaboom here for another Fake Out user. You know, again, Fake Out Surging Strikes is busted. And then Fake Out, you know, with Astro Barrage is also really, really strong too. And then you can also go for something like Ogerpon Ogre Pond Heart Flame, right? You can do this as well. if you like the big damage that Ogerpon can do. You have Fake Out Redirection on your team now. Okay, so you can do that, or you can also go with Incineroar here. And I like Incin just a little bit more on this kind of team, just because, you know, with double restricteds and so much more power creep running around, I want like more ways to mitigate damage, and just having, you know, knockoff and parting shot along with another fake out user is just going to be like really, really important here. And now what you can do with this Calyrex, you can start going for like you can go for a setup move here, but what I like, you know, because I don't have an Amoonguss anymore, I'm gonna go substitute here. Like, you could just go like fake out substitute, especially when they have the turn to set up Trick Room. You could just stall it out by just protecting next turn, and now all of a sudden 2 turns of Trick Room are gone and the Calyrex is still untouched. And then you can just pivot out and cycle into your other fake out user, click fake out again, right? And then you're still intact with your sub, because you can only really take just 1 damage. But yeah, you can just stall out Trick Room turns this way with double fake out and sub. So that's usually why I like doing something like this. But everything else can stay the same. Zom, now without the rain, you're gonna have to at least just go Terra Dragon. It's a little bit better of a Terra without the rain instead of grass, but you saw how valuable grass was, right? Ursh can stay the same. Okay, Chenpao, what you can also now consider doing, you can still keep Sucker Punch. Obviously, Sacred Sword is still a really good move. You can go for Crunch here, which is really nice. Again, that's also pretty good into the Ice Rider especially, or like other Lunalas running around. This Rillaboom, we can just always go like Assault Vest here with Terra Fire, just to be able to resist, and you know, just the moves they need, especially against like the ice attacks from Calyrex and Chenpao, and then you neutralize the Bleakwind Storm damage. But of course, this is going to be Fake Out. This is going to be Grassy Glide. This is going to be Wood Hammer, and here you have your pivot move in U-turn, right? Incineroar. So I like Rocky Helmet and Incin on these teams, especially against like more Zamazentas, more Chenpaos and stuff like that, and especially like Urshifu stuff. I also like Terra Grass on this. Okay, if you like Terra Water, you can also go Terra Water with Incin, but you can resist like Miraidon and Urshifu stuff, which is really, really good. And then just like, you know, Fake Out, Knock Off, Parting Shot. Will-O-Wisp being able to burn some of these key physical threats now is going to be important. And yeah, this is like the other way of playing this kind of Calyrex team. So same idea. Rillaboom here, you know, we'll just use some of our more familiar spreads. I'm going to go 132 investments for 192 HP. This is going to optimize our HP for a factor of 16, 176, 192, 208, 224. These are all factors of 16 that you can go for. We're going to go to the third bump in the attack stat here, which is going to be Adamant 196. Right, you see how you go from 185 to 187. Your attack goes up by 2 points instead of 1. So I like that. About 100 speed here. I may take more off later, but this is just for Pelipper, modest Pelipper, just to be able to outspeed that. 1 point in defense, and then just dumping the rest in Spadef at least puts you at triple digits for your special defense bulk with the Assault Vest. That I thought that was just like a nice number to hit. Wasn't really calced for anything. The Incin. So I like Relax on this just so that I can have a pretty slow parting shot, and then at least play something a little bit more in Trick Room. But just, you know, 244, 188, this is just for like body press stuff, you know, Urshifu stuff especially. But I like this coming from my Incin. You know, it's a very common spread to just with that Impish set here. But this is going to be team number 2. Again, more fake out users now. Okay, you've got Rillaboom here, so you have a couple of priority mons, right? You got Rillaboom, Ursh, Chenpao clicking, you know, just Grassy Glides, Sucker Punches, and, you know, Aqua Jets and whatnot if you have to go for that. But again, you know, fake out Surging Strikes is always going to be busted. Instant Calyrex leads are also like really, really good. I like those a lot. So if you want to explore that, again, you should definitely keep exploring like instant Calyrex leads. But let's do a couple games with this variant. Alright, so this guy's using Lugia and Kyogre. This is a very, very strange team. I understand the Tornadus. I even understand our Keladon over there. But I don't know, of all restrictors that we can use Lugia with, we're using Kyogre. Now, I guess it kind of makes sense because, like, you know, stuff like Chiyu and Incineroar gives Lugia problems. And I guess Kyogre is one way to get around that. But yeah, I mean, I'm still clicking Grassy Glide on Rillaboom regardless, right? So anyway, so he has this. So, you know, honestly, as long as I just position well, I should be okay. I'm going to go Calyrex Rillaboom here. and set up sub if I have to, but I don't think I need to. He led this. I don't know what this is supposed to do, but you know, either way, I'm clicking Astral Barrage regardless just to see what he's got. I'm going to click Fake Out there, and I literally click Astral Barrage, right? So here we go. It does a lot of damage. And the Calyrex just drops. There's no AV there. We're +1. He sets up Trick Room, I guess, but we're still like fine because, you know, I have Protects and I have Pivots. So I'm just gonna Grassy Glide and get rid of that thing, you know, so this way, you know, it's down to a 2-on-1. So I take the Air Blast, and I know I can stay in because, again, Lugia just doesn't do damage. Look at that. It's a lot of damage. Now, he's gonna do a lot now just because he has a weakness policy. So that I didn't expect, okay? But, you know, it's still like 4-on-1. Now, there is a Kyogre. Now, Trick Room is up, which is great because Rillaboom gets to click the Woodhammer button. There's the Origin Pulse. Again, I don't even think a crit saves him, so we click that. Goodbye, Kyogre. See you later. Lugia can kill the Rillaboom if it wants, but he just ends up going for a Recover, which is fine. So all I need to do is just preserve this Calyrex for the end game, right? So I'm just going to go Urshifu here. You can kill that if you want. Even Zamazenta you can even remove because I just need Fake Out and Astral Barrage here, right? So yeah. Anyway, so at that point he just forfeits because he understands it. And like once the Trick Room expires, I'm just going to go ahead and win this game. All right, we got Miraidon Zacian. I think that's also a pretty decent pairing moving forward. Again, the Zacian can put pressure against the Ice Rider, which can give Miraidon some problems. There is another Sinistcha here. I'm very curious as to what is the increased uses of Sinistcha here. So there's D-Knight, Pow Knight, and then there's Ensign. Okay, great. I think our Calyrex looks really good here, but so does our own Incineroar, just because we can intimidate quite a few things here. And Zamazenta can also do well here. But I do like, you know, just Instant as a lead, just again balancing things with my Chien-Pao. I can threaten to remove the terrain if he's got it, right? So there's the Instant as well. Now I am intimidated, which is okay. I don't mind that. I just need enough chip to put it in range. So I'm gonna Fake Out here, fakes out my Pao, which is fine. I Fake Out his Miraidon here, and we quickly find out one thing. Okay, so there's my Fake Out, but again he went for Calm Mind, so he's Covert Cloak, which is I guess fine. I'm just going to Protect here. I'm going to try and Parting Shot if I can, but I don't because, again, he clicks Protect here. But anyway, he's only +1, so I'm going to try and survive. I am Impish, so I don't have too much Spadef here. And he goes Terra Electric. It's a lot of damage, right? So there's the Ice Spinner, but Instant has enough survivability. We live on 1 HP. You know, we got the best EVs in the world. Parting Shot comes out, and I'm going to go into Calyrex, and now we're just in a prime position here. Yeah, that Miraidon is cooked here. He can click Protect, but it's not going to change the goal later on, because I was always going to click Sacred Sword if he did swap in Instant, but I was always picking up the Sinistcha. He already used his Terra, so there's not really a whole lot he can do after this. Zamazenta is just going to win in the end game. All right, this is the mirror, right? You always have to like kind of call some things here, right? But he has the Pelipper variant, which I also like, but some similar pieces, especially with Chien-Pao, Instant, Rillaboom. Okay, everything is the same, right? The only difference is he's got a Pelipper and we don't, which is fine. But I do like my own Ursh just for that reason, but he's going to go with his Zamazenta and Instant. Good lead from him. I'm going to go Chien-Pao and my Urshifu itself. So great lead for him. He gets to intimidate my Chien-Pao here. My Urshifu doesn't really care, but I'm going to go Terra Ghost here just to surprise him. I'm going to click Protect here. Okay, he fakes out my Ursh. Thank you for that. And I'm just going to remove the Incineroar immediately. So this way, I have one less thing to worry about for my Calyrex Shadow Rider, right? One less Dark type. So, and he goes for a Body Press, which is a great turn for us, right? He went into the Urshifu, which Terra Ghosted. So now the Pelipper is at its mercy, right? So we just Surging Strikes this thing, right? So, you know, he is Rocky Helmet, unfortunately. But that's fine because the Zamazenta can't really kill us with the Body Press because we're a Ghost type. We just go for the Pelipper there. All right, and then I am Rocky Helmeted. Okay, I do lose to Behemoth Bash, but that's okay. Calyrex can come in, but guess what? Okay, we're still fine. So there's the Calyrex, and no Terra really came out here, right? So this is still like okay. So he protects the Calyrex this turn, which is fine. I'm gonna protect my Pao as well. I want the damage boost on the Zamazenta, which is all I really need from that. He does live, and that's just free damage for us essentially, right? So now he goes for Terra Fairy, which is okay, right? There's the protect on Zom. We figures, right? I'm gonna go for Wide Guard just to force him. He went for Astral. Oh man, you always got to play around Ryguard, man, right? So I go for Crunch, a little bit of chip damage, right? A little bit. But really all I need to do is just get rid of the Zom, okay? Goes for Astral again. He still went for Astral. I just revealed one. right? But this is fine because I have the faster Zom. I know I have the faster Zom. Okay, body press comes out. This is good. Now he's at our mercy because now I can just keep clicking this. All right, he does go for Draining Kiss. Finally, he goes for Draining Kiss. He reveals the Draining Kiss, but this is okay. That he should have did that many turns ago. But guess what? Now we have our own Calyrex, against this one, which is fine. And now he goes for Protect, okay, which is again okay. I'm gonna keep forcing him to click Draining Kiss here, but now I go for the substitute. This is the value of sub here, right? So now I just click Wide Guard. Okay, he can go for Shadow Ball, which is, I guess, okay. He breaks my sub, but now I get to go for my own Astral, okay? And that's really all she wrote there. So sub is really good just because I could take one big attack there and just clean things up. All right, one more for this one. So this is against like the Lunala, Calyrex, Ice Rider, Trick Room stuff here. So they got the Smeargle, they got the Indeedee. Good way of building it. This is probably the way I would do it, at least one variant. But I do have Rillaboom. I can change terrain if I have to. And I have Zamazenta that can click Wide Guard. I have options, okay? And now I do have a Calyrex Shadow Rider, which is pretty good against his mons here. But, the Lunala could have Wide Guard. You never know. But I still like a lot of what I have, especially if I have Incineroar over here. But I do also like Chenpao just because. So he's going to go Smeargle. He's going to go Cali Ice. So he could be doing the Spore Shenanigans, Decorate stuff. So I go Chenpao. I go Urshier. I want to be aggressive here. And just in case he has Fake Out, I'm just going to go Ghost Ursh. It's an interesting call here, right? I just have to like punch the Smeargle just in case. And they always go for Fake Out, right? But Crunch is such good damage. He goes for Trick Room. Look at this. The Calyrex is so weak, right? And now he just doesn't even Terra. He just dies to Sucker Punch here, right? So there's the Thunderbolt. He could have clicked Thunderclap into Urshifu here if he really wanted to. Didn't really matter. I was always just going to go for the Calyrex there. But now he goes into Lunala. He's already down 2 mons, right? So I'm just going to repivot, go into Zom here, protect Pow. Just stall out these turns of Trick Room. He goes Terra Fairy, so now we can Behemoth Bash that. More Heavy Slam, technically. So 2 more turns, okay? There's another D-Gleam. So, we have the threat of Wide Guard. So he's revealed a couple moves here. So he's got Meteor Beam, he's got Dazzling Gleam. You got to have Moongeist Beam, right? So then what's your last move? I don't think this guy has Wide Guard, okay? Because he has Terra Fairy, Dazzling Gleam, Meteor Beam, he's already shown us, right? So I'm going to click Protect here just to stall the last turn of Trick Room. And that's really all she wrote, in all honesty. We just kill Raging Bolt and Lunala, the Shadow Shield gets broken, we click Heavy Slam, and then the Lunala is pretty much cooked here, right? So there's the Thunderclap. They tried, but this is just an easy Astral Barrage, Breakthrough Shadow Shield, and now we just click the Heavy Slam move, and that's it. Lunala is done. So we just stalled out Trick Room turns by clicking Protect, but that's really all we needed. I could have also clicked Sub if I wanted to, but Smeargle was annoying, and I thought just having Urshifu out there was really good. Okay, one last build here. So I kind of also want to try a couple of the different ideas for the supporting cast, and I was looking at some of the online tours, and I like this way that Mr. Sir Aaron SNT was using in a couple of online tours. He took like 1st and 2nd place in a couple of Limitless tournaments, and this is what he was using. So he was going with the Miraidon core, right? Whimsicott, Farigiraf, Iron Hands, okay, and Chiyu over here, right? So we know what Tailwind, Calyrex, and Chiyu can do. We've seen this before, but now you add a Trick Room mode here with Farigiraf and Iron Hands here, and you can always bring these into Miraidon games as well, just because Iron Hands is going to get a nice little boost, and then you have low kick against the Ice Rider stuff. So I like this as well, just because you have good solid damage, you have Fake Out pressure, you have Chiyu that can be used against the Lunalas and the Calyrexes as well, and Farigiraf is just another anti-Trick Room mon that can click the occasional helping hand and help you do a little bit more damage as well, right? So I like this. Now you don't have to go substitute anymore, you can just take this out. They were using something like this. They were going Terra Blast, Terra Water, which is kind of funny. You can blast through instants and Chiyus and whatnot. So I did like that. I was testing it. I was like, oh yeah, this is actually pretty good damage. This can pretty much stay the same. I like Terra Dragon on the Zamazenta here. Now, if you really want, you can always just go like Imprison here with like Heavy Slam. I'm sorry, like in Body Press, Imprison, Wide Guard. If you really want to do that, right here, I'll just put Imprison. Like this is what they were running. So now the Zamazentas, they can't really do much except click the Heavy Slam So if you want to go in that direction, you can definitely do that. And then just stop anyone from using Guard. So you can definitely go with something like this. I think it's really funny when you can kind of pull it off there. This Whimsicott, we can just go like Tailwind. Nope, that's lagging tail. We can go Covert Cloak. Okay, and then just Tailwind, Moonblast, Encore. Right, these are like very 3 staple moves here. And then what they were running a really cool tech with Cotton Spore. So that's like really good in the Tailwind mirror, right? Where you can just drop speed by 2 points immediately. I think that was really, really solid. And we've seen Cotton Spore Whimsicott a couple of times throughout Scarlet and Violet. It's really devastating when you think about it. Rocky Helmet Furgraph, I think is really good. Just again, for Urshifus that want to punch you, the Chenpaos that want to punch you, the Incineroars that want to, knock you off. I think it's really good. So Psychic Noise, really good at removing Urshifus, as we saw. Like Foul Play is also really good. Helping Hand and Trick Room. Okay. Terra Water also is really nice just for those Urshifus as well. Same thing with Incin. The Whimsicott, we can go Terra Dark here so we don't get taunted. The Iron Hands, I like Grass, just for neutralizing my Psychic weakness and resisting ground damage. Of course, I like Assault Vest here. And from here, I did like, just Fake Out Pressure, Low Kick, Wild Charge, and then just Drain Punch here. Okay. And now the Chi-Yu over here, which is kind of cool when you think about it. So like this was a Scarf set and they were using Terra Ground here, which is great just because this can nuke Incineroars. This can nuke Miraidons, for example. So you can just do like Heat Wave, Dark Pulse, Overheat, and then Terra Blast, Terra Ground. So instead of Snarl, we just go like full offense here and then just use Dark Pulse as our big nuke. And that's totally fine if you want to play it like that. Otherwise, Snarls is like always like really, really solid. But, just very simple EVs. You could just do like 252 here on this with this Chi-Yu. My Iron Hands, I like just going Adamant second benchmark there. So Adamant 156 is good enough. Hitting 198 attack stat. Maxing out your Spadef with the Assault Vest is really good. Little bit of HP for Grassy Terrain Recovery. And then a tiny bit of speed for like potential mirror matchups, right? Also for the Ice Rider matchup too, technically. You can look at some speed interactions. Anyway, Furgraph, I just like surviving Urshifus, with the Surging Strike. So Bolt 204, 164 is really, really solid. It can do that for you. And then from here, you can just literally dump everything into the Spadef if that is your wish. So you can just do like this, just 1 point in the speed and the special attack stat, and then just dump the rest into Spadef, and that's really all you need. Now, this Whimsicott here, I always like a bulky Whims, whenever I have Covert Cloak. I just have this much speed. This is just good enough for Landorus. And then I have enough bulk with 236 HP, along with 100 Spadef. This is going to survive 1 Miraidon Electrodrift Choice Specs, right? Modest. So after that, it's just, leftovers. Dump the rest into physical defense, 1 point in special attack, and that's really all you need. So pretty bulky Whims when you think about it. Calyrex and Zom, they stay the same, except now this has Imprison, and then this has Astral Barrage, Psyshock. You can also go like Psyshock. I believe they were also like, using Psyshock there, but this is just like our own EVs and some of our own Terras, besides the Terra Water Calyrex here. But this is just another variant that you can consider with the Calyrex Shadow Rider Zamazenta idea. All right, so now I'm just going to put all 3 pastes on the screen here. So you have the Tornadus variant with Chenpao Ursh. This is the first one we built. This is another one that we built. This is the 3rd variation. We didn't show any test games with this, but that's okay. You can just test it out yourself. You've got, the Whimsicott, Furgraph, Iron Hands idea with Chi-Yu. Here, this is a little bit more of a balanced idea that you can play. Best of both worlds, Tailwind, Tailroom, Trick Room. And then this one right here, no, not this one. This one was just the good stuff like Instant Rillaboom Ursh with Chenpao. And then substitute Calyrex, you can just use something like this. So I think all 3 are very easy and solid starting points that you can do with Calyrex Shadow Rider Zamazenta stuff. So test them out. Let us know how you do. If you're running into things, just make adjustments accordingly. But at the very least, you have 3 teams with this variant that you can try. Okay. If there's something else that you're interested in, if you want to build your own, but you still need some help, feel free to sign up for coaching on our channel. Tier 3 sub gets you a one-on-one team building session with us, and we can hash out EVs just like this. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely, reach out to us. and sign up. If you look in the video description below, as well as in the pinned comment section, there is a link to join the channel with that tier 3 sub. And then from there, you can join our Discord. You can message us on Discord, and then we can find a time where we can meet and build you a Regulation I squad. Okay, but that's it for now, folks. We'll be back with another video in the next one. Peace out and have a good one.